You ever think about how fragile reality really is? Like, you go to bed, close your eyes, and you trust that when you wake up, everything's going to be the same. But what if it's not? What if there's something in the room with you, watching, waiting for you to slip just deep enough into sleep? We don't like to admit it, but people vanish all the time. No explanation, no struggle, no body, just gone. And every culture has stories about things that take them. Some say it's spirits, some say it's demons, others say it's something older, something we don't have words for. The creepiest part? These stories aren't just myths. They come from regular people, truck drivers, soldiers, moms, kids, people who weren't looking for the paranormal but stumbled right into it. They'll tell you, I wasn't dreaming, I wasn't high, I wasn't imagining it, I saw it. That's what makes this so terrifying. If even one of these stories is true, just one, then it means the shadows in your house at night aren't just shadows. They might be something waiting to step forward. Stay awake. Submitted by Daniel Harper. I was driving late at night on a country road when my car hit black ice. I lost control, spun off the road, and slammed into a tree. The airbags went off, but I was trapped. I couldn't reach my phone, couldn't move my legs. All I could do was scream in the dark. That's when I heard it. A calm, steady voice whispering, "Stay awake. Help is coming." It was so close, like someone was sitting in the passenger seat. The strange part, I had been alone in the car. The voice kept telling me to breathe, to hold on. Minutes later, I heard sirens. Paramedics told me a call came in from my phone, reporting the crash, giving my exact location. But here's the thing. My phone was destroyed in the wreck, pinned under twisted metal. There's no way it could have worked. To this day, I don't know who or what kept me alive that night, but if that voice hadn't been there, I'm sure I would have slipped away. Maybe it was a guardian angel, maybe a spirit, but someone called for me when I couldn't. Dude, that's insane. A disembodied voice keeping you alive, telling you to hold on, and then the paramedics get a call from your phone that's completely wrecked. That's the kind of thing that'll mess with your head forever. Like, was it an angel, a ghost, or something else? It gives me chills, man. Phantom Pain, submitted by Marcus Lee. After losing my leg in an accident, the doctors warned me about phantom pain. At first, it was just tingling like my toes were still there, but then the pain grew sharper, twisting, like someone was crushing the limb that no longer existed. It wasn't just pain, it felt intentional. One night, I woke up screaming. The pain was unbearable, like knives digging into the missing flesh. I looked down, and in the dim light, I swore I saw the outline of my leg. Only it wasn't attached. Something dark was gripping it, dragging it away. The next day, I tried to brush it off, but every night it returned. The pain came with whispers, voices I couldn't quite make out. Sometimes I'd hear laughter, faint but mocking, like something was enjoying what it was doing to me. Doctors said it was my brain misfiring, but I know better. This wasn't nerves. This was something that had taken hold of the part of me I'd lost. My phantom pain wasn't just my body remembering. It was something else claiming what was gone. Man, that's wild. Doctors say phantom pain is just your brain firing off signals, but when you start seeing shadows gripping the limb, hearing voices, laughter that's not just nerves, that's some dark shit. Makes you wonder if losing a part of your body leaves something open for whatever that was. The Touch, submitted by Angela Ruiz. I live alone, but sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night feeling like someone's in my bed. At first, I thought it was just dreams. Then one night, I felt fingers run down my arm, slow and deliberate. My whole body froze. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. It started happening more often. The pressure of weight beside me, the sound of breathing in my ear. Once, I felt lips on my neck, cold and wrong. I'd wake up shaking, heart pounding, too terrified to sleep again. I had cameras set up in my room. They never caught anything, but twice I woke to find the sheets pulled halfway off the bed, as if someone had slid under them. The touch always came when I was between sleep and waking, trapped in that limbo. Friends tell me it's sleep paralysis, but sleep paralysis doesn't leave scratches on your thigh or bruises on your hip. Whatever's in my room isn't a dream. It wants me vulnerable, and it waits until I'm too weak to fight. Dude, that's heavy. Sleep paralysis explains a lot, but it doesn't explain scratches, bruises, or feeling actual weight in the bed. That's next level terrifying. Imagine being alone in your house and something's crawling under the sheets with you. That's nightmare fuel, man. The bus route. Submitted by John Keller. I've been a night shift bus driver for 12 years. Most nights are boring, just drunks, late workers, and silent. But one night, around 2 a.m., I picked up a woman at a stop on the edge of town. She wore old clothes, pale as paper. She didn't speak, just nodded when I asked where to. She sat in the back. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, she was staring at me, never blinking. When we got to the stop she pointed at, I opened the door. No one got off. I walked the aisle, empty seats. No one there. My chest went cold. A week later, another driver told me about the same woman. Always at the same stop, always silent, always vanishing before the ride ends. He said she was killed there in the 80s, hit by a bus she never saw coming. Now, whenever I pass that stop, I avoid looking in the mirror, because sometimes, even when the bus is empty, I swear I see her pale reflection staring back at me. Man, that's creepy as hell. A passenger that just disappears, and then you find out she died at that exact stop years ago? That's like a loop, dude. Like she's stuck replaying her last ride forever. Imagine being alone on that bus at night and seeing her in the mirror. No thanks. The Presence. Submitted by Ethan Morales. When I was 16, I started having nocturnal emissions, but one night felt different. I woke up in the dark, feeling hands pressing on me, but there was no one in my bed. My heart was pounding, frozen with fear. The pressure moved over my body, tracing me like it knew me. I tried to move, but I couldn't. I thought it was a dream until I felt cold lips brushing my neck. I snapped awake, drenched in sweat. It kept happening over weeks. The sensation always came when I was barely asleep, trapped between dream and reality. I'd wake up to marks on my skin, scratches. I didn't remember getting bruises that weren't there before. I finally told my therapist, who said it was anxiety or sleep paralysis. Maybe she's right, but I've never felt so watched, so touched by something that shouldn't exist. Some nights, I still wake up feeling its presence. Dude, I'm not even kidding. If I'd had a ghost like that when I was 16, I'd have been set for life. I mean, a playful, teasing spirit in your room? That's insane. Creepy as hell, but also kind of hilarious. I'd be like, all right, I can handle this every night. Game Boy. Submitted by Ethan V. When I was 12, I found an old Game Boy at a garage sale. It was scratched and yellowed, but the screen still worked. I took it home, and the first thing I noticed was the battery light flickering even when it wasn't on. I started playing a game I didn't recognize, a pixelated platformer with my street in it. At first it was fun, but then the character started moving on its own, dodging obstacles I hadn't programmed, walking through houses I knew too well. One night, I woke to the screen glowing on its own, the music playing backwards. I swear the character looked like it was alive, staring at me, shaking its tiny sprite fists. Then I heard whispering, soft, high-pitched, coming from the Game Boy speaker. I threw it out, but months later, it showed up on my desk, turned on, the sprite pointing directly at me. I never touched it. I don't know if it's a haunted device or something worse, but I've never seen electronics act like that before or since. Dude, that is wild. A Game Boy that turns on by itself, the character moving on its own and whispering from the speaker, that's insane. Imagine a little pixelated ghost stalking you through your childhood street. Man, I would have been terrified and obsessed trying to figure it out. The Spirits, submitted by Lila Whitefeather. I was camping near the desert cliffs on my reservation. Around midnight, the wind died down completely, and the desert grew unnaturally quiet. I thought it was just a calm night until I heard distant drumming, low and rhythmic, echoing between the rocks. Curious, I followed it, thinking it might be someone else out there. Shadows flickered along the cliffs, branches, or rocks. I told myself, but they moved in ways that didn't make sense. I felt eyes on me, like something was watching. A sudden gust blew sand across my path, and the drumming stopped. I found footprints in the soft dirt leading back toward my campsite, even though I hadn't seen anyone pass by. I froze, unsure whether to follow or run back. In the morning, there was nothing, no footprints, no evidence of anyone being there. Only the memory of that drumming lingered, faint and rhythmic. It felt like a warning, or maybe a reminder of the spirits my elders always spoke about. Man, that's wild. You're out in the desert, everything's quiet, and then you hear drumming coming from nowhere. That's the kind of thing that messes with your head. Could be spirits, could be echoes off the rocks, or just your brain trying to make sense of the silence. But either way, I'd be freaked. Mexican exorcism, submitted by Sofia Morales. I was staying with a friend in Mexico City when her cousin became violently ill. They called a curandero, a healer, for an exorcism. I thought it was superstition until I saw him on his knees, chanting, sweat pouring, while she screamed. Then it got worse. He forced her mouth open, and she started coughing of hair, thick, black strands, as if something inside her was being pulled out. Her eyes rolled back, and the room grew icy cold, despite the summer night. The chanting intensified. Shadows moved across the walls, flickering like they had their own life. The hairs kept coming, filling the basin, and with every strand, her body convulsed harder. I couldn't look away. By morning, she collapsed, pale and trembling. The curandero said the spirit had been strong, feeding off fear for years. She survived. But I still see her flinch in sunlight, brushing phantom hairs from her lips. Man, that's insane. Hair coming out of someone's mouth during an exorcism? That's next level creepy. I don't care how much science you throw at it. Seeing something like that in person would mess with your head forever. I'd be out of the room before the next strand came up. The Cell, submitted by Marcus Fields. I was working a night shift at an old state prison, cleaning cells no one had used in decades. One cell, number 13, felt different. The air was colder, and the silence heavier than the rest of the wing. I chalked it up to drafts and creaking pipes. While scrubbing the floor, I heard chains dragging across the concrete. At first, I thought a door had swung open or a maintenance cart rolled by, but nothing moved. My skin prickled, and I kept hearing soft scratching from the corner. I glanced over and saw a shadow flicker near the bunk. It looked like someone sitting hunched over, but there was no one there. The scratches on the wall weren't fresh, but the lines seemed deeper than before, almost like they'd been made recently. I finished my shift as fast as I could. Even now, when I walk past old jails or hear chains clanging, I feel that same chill, the memory of a place that doesn't quite feel empty, no matter how silent. Man, that's creepy as hell. You're alone in a decades-old prison, and you hear chains dragging and scratching that shouldn't be happening? I mean, it could be rats or old pipes. Sure, but that shadow flickering near the bunk? That's the kind of thing that makes your hair stand on end. The Mattress, submitted by Rebecca Hall. I bought a second-hand mattress from a thrift store. The first night, I woke up to pressure on my chest, like someone was leaning on me. I thought it was sleep paralysis at first. Over the next week, it got worse. I'd feel hands sliding over my body while I slept. Sometimes I'd wake with my blankets pulled off or twisted around me. One night, I woke to a whisper in my ear, soft but insistent. The mattress seemed to move beneath me, shaping itself as if someone invisible was sitting there. I finally threw it out. Even now, I sometimes feel that weight pressing down on me in hotel rooms or guest beds, like whatever was in that mattress is still following me. That's insane. A mattress that moves, presses on you, even whispers in your ear, that's next level creepy. I'd never buy a second-hand bed again. Just imagining lying down and feeling invisible hands on me? No thanks, I'd be sleeping on the floor for life. The White Chick, submitted by Emily Carter. My husband and I moved into his family's ancestral home in Bangladesh. The first night, I felt an icy presence in the hallways. Doors would slam on their own, and soft whispers echoed in Bengali. I couldn't understand them, but my husband seemed nervous. One evening, I woke to see a figure standing at the foot of our bed, pale, robed, its face hidden. It reached toward me, and the air grew unbearably cold. My husband awoke, sweating, and muttered something about an ancestor watching over the house. Objects would move on their own, cups sliding across tables, lamps tipping over. The whispers grew louder at night, repeating a single phrase I couldn't translate. My husband said it was an old family warning, a spirit that didn't like outsiders. By the third week, I felt it following me everywhere. I'd wake in different rooms, sometimes on the floor, the whispers in my ear louder than ever. We eventually left the house, but I still dream of the figure, waiting silently in the hall, watching, judging. Dude, that's wild. You're in your husband's family home, and there's a spirit watching, doors slamming, whispers you can't understand. That's the kind of thing that messes with your head. I'd be out of there fast. No way I'm sleeping in a room where something's judging me every night. The toy, submitted by Alex Monroe. I bought a novelty adult toy at a quirky thrift store. At first, it was funny, but one night I woke up to find it on the floor, far from where I'd left it. I swore I'd put it on my nightstand. Over the next few nights, it moved around my apartment on shelves, under pillows, even in the bathroom. Sometimes I'd hear faint laughter, almost like it was mocking me. One evening, I threw it in the bin. The next morning, it was back on my bed, perfectly positioned. I realized this wasn't coincidence, something was attached to it. I finally threw it in the dumpster, but I sometimes see shadows or feel movement near my bed, like it's still following me. Dude, I can't stop laughing, but also, that's terrifying. Imagine going to bed and your toy is moving around on its own, like it's alive and judging you. I'd be freaked out and impressed. I mean, that's one way to make sure you never sleep alone, huh? The Elderly Woman, submitted by Lucas Grant. I'm an EMT. One night, we got a call to a quiet suburban home. Neighbors complained of a strong, unusual odor. When we arrived, the front door was unlocked. Inside, the smell hit immediately. In the living room was an elderly woman who had passed away days ago. The TV was still on, and a cup of tea sat on the table untouched. It looked like she'd just stepped out, which made the scene unsettling. While moving around the room, I noticed odd details. The shadows cast by the furniture seemed deeper, the air colder than normal. My partner said the same. Nothing supernatural, but it gave the place an eerie atmosphere. We completed our work quickly. The coroner confirmed she'd been dead for several days. Even now, I can't shake the impression that she was there somehow, lingering in the house, leaving traces of her presence behind. Man, that's rough. You walk into a house and someone's been dead for days, but the place looks like they just stepped out, even without ghosts. That's creepy as hell. The smell, the shadows, that eerie quiet, it gets under your skin. I'd be on edge the whole time. Ain't nothing but a gangster party. Submitted by Tyrell T-Rex Johnson. I grew up in the South Side, where the streets have their own rules. One night, after a robbery went wrong, I was walking home, and I kept hearing footsteps behind me. I turned, but the street was empty, just me and the hum of distant traffic. The footsteps kept pace, though. A cold wind blew down the alley, carrying the smell of smoke and iron. I got nervous, scanning for someone hiding. Nothing. Just shadows stretching long under the streetlights. I ducked into an abandoned building to catch my breath. That's when I saw graffiti of old neighborhood names, memorials to guys who had died violent deaths. One symbol in particular looked fresh, as if someone had been there very recently. I left fast, but I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Every alley, every corner, felt like eyes were tracking me. It wasn't supernatural, but something about the energy of that place. People who had died young hung heavy, almost alive. Even now, when I walk the streets at night, I feel that weight. The ghosts aren't literal, they're memories, warnings. But in the hood, those who die young leave an impression that can make you rethink every step you take. Man, that's intense. Even without ghosts, just walking those streets and feeling like the weight of everyone who didn't make it is watching you, that's creepy as hell. The energy of the neighborhood, the memories of people gone too soon, I get why you'd feel chills. That's real horror right there. The Cursed Figurine. Submitted by Wei Zhang. I bought an antique figurine from a market in Guangzhou. The seller whispered that it was cursed, but I laughed it off. That night, I felt cold air brush past me and shadows flickering at the edge of my vision. Objects in my apartment began moving, cups sliding off counters, lights flickering, and faint scratching noises from walls. I'd wake to find the figurine in a different place, sometimes facing me. One evening, I dreamt of a dark figure chanting in a temple, holding the figurine. Its eyes glowed red, and every time it spoke, I felt my chest tighten, like the air itself was pressing down. I sought a local practitioner, who said someone had trapped a spirit in the figurine through black magic, and it was feeding off my fear. I burned it in a controlled ritual, but sometimes I still feel cold fingers brushing my shoulder at night. Man, that's insane. A figurine with a trapped spirit moving around your apartment and giving you chest-tightening fear in dreams? That's next level creepy. I mean, I'd be terrified just looking at it, let alone waking up and seeing it facing me. I'd never buy antiques in China again. Midnight. Submitted by Hannah Whitaker, Michigan. I grew up with a cat named Midnight. He was black, with bright green eyes, and followed me everywhere. One night, he didn't come home. A week later, my neighbor found him lifeless on the porch. I buried him under the old oak tree, thinking it was over. That same night, I heard soft meows outside my window. I went to check, and there was nothing, just wind moving branches. I told myself it was grief, that I was imagining him. But the noises continued, insistent, almost like he was calling my name in a tiny, plaintive voice. A few nights later, I felt something brush past my legs while walking through the living room. I froze. It felt like a small body slipping between my feet. I dropped to my knees and swore I saw a shadow in the corner, crouched low, glowing green eyes staring at me. The following days were worse. Objects shifted slightly, as if nudged by paws. I heard scratching on walls and floors, always at night. I saw glimpses of black fur at the edge of my vision, vanishing when I turned. I started sleeping with the lights on. I spoke to my grandmother. She said, in our family tradition, spirits of animals who died unexpectedly sometimes linger near their owners. I realized Midnight hadn't left. He was trying to tell me something, or just making sure I knew he was still around. Weeks passed, but at night, I still hear meows. I sometimes feel a weight curl beside me in bed. Midnight is gone physically, but the presence never left. The sorrow, love, and whatever mystery kept him tethered to me still lingers, chilling my spine every night. Man, that's crazy. A cat dies, you bury him, then you're hearing meows, feeling something brush past your legs, seeing green eyes in the corner. That's wild. I mean, it's terrifying, but also kind of heartwarming. Midnight still looking out for you, in the creepiest way possible. Senses. Submitted by Clara Benson. I've been blind since birth, but I've always sensed things others can't. One night, while alone in my apartment, I felt someone brush past me. I called out, no answer. The air was heavy, like someone was standing just behind me. Objects in my apartment started moving on their own. I'd feel a soft tap on my shoulder, or hear whispers near my ear. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, watching, testing me. One evening, I woke to a cold hand on my face, tracing my jaw. My cane was knocked to the floor. I froze, too terrified to move. I realized this presence was learning my routine, following me even though I couldn't see it. I spoke with a friend who suggested it might be a spirit feeding off my senses. I don't know, but sometimes I still feel it lingering nearby, close enough to touch, whispering in the darkness, just beyond my reach. That's wild. Being blind and still sensing something moving around you, tapping your shoulder, whispering in your ear, that's next level creepy. I mean, normally you can rely on sight, but she can't even see it, and it's still getting under her skin. I'd be losing it. The Voice, submitted by Samantha Hayes. I was a key witness in a high-profile trial. Days before testifying, I started losing my voice. At first, I thought it was stress, but no matter what I tried, I couldn't speak. Even whispers wouldn't come out. One night, I felt a cold presence in my apartment. Papers flew off my desk, and I saw shadows moving in the corners. A faint voice seemed to mock me, repeating my name silently, pressing against my mind. The day of the trial, I tried to answer questions, but my voice refused. People stared, confused. My lawyer whispered, worried. I realized I wasn't just sick. Something had cursed me, keeping me from speaking truth in the court. I left the city afterward, but the curse didn't end. At night, I feel pressure on my throat, hear faint whispers of the trial, and sometimes wake screaming silently, my voice trapped. I can't tell anyone what happened. I physically cannot. Oh my God. Imagine being a key witness in a trial and suddenly your voice just won't work, like someone cursed you. And then there's this presence in your apartment, papers flying, whispers in your head. I don't care how skeptical you are. That's terrifying. I'd be out of the city. Unfaithful. Submitted by Laura Benson. After years of marriage, my husband and I split. I'd been unfaithful, and it ended badly. A few weeks later, I got the call he'd passed away suddenly from a fast-moving illness. I was shocked, and guilt washed over me. Not long after, I started noticing strange things at my apartment. Cold drafts in empty rooms, shadows at the edge of my vision, and soft whispers I couldn't place. It felt like he was still around, watching me. Sometimes, at night, I'd wake with the feeling of someone sitting on the edge of the bed. Mirrors would show fleeting images of him, staring, silent. I tried to convince myself it was grief, but the presence was persistent. Even months later, I still feel him. Every cold gust, creak, or whisper reminds me of what I did. I can't fix the past, and even though he's gone, part of him lingers, haunting me with the choices I made. That's all for tonight's journey into the unknown. Shadows, whispers, and the unexplained remind us that our world is stranger than we think. Whether you believe in ghosts, curses, or something beyond, one truth remains: darkness is never far away. Until next time, stay safe.